President Trump is giving an address to the nation tonight where he is expected to repeat his false claims about election rigging. Trump has retaliated against the state of Colorado for its use of mail-in voting, which Trump claims, without evidence, is rigged. MS Now reports that Tina Peters will be in Washington for tonight's speech. We reached out to her, didn't hear back. She's the convicted former elections clerk from Mesa County who helped fellow election conspiracy theorists get inside Colorado's voting systems. Peters was recently freed early by Democratic Governor Jared Polis. While it is not clear which flavor of election conspiracy theories Trump will be serving up tonight, Colorado sits at the center of several of them, including the wild claim that the Venezuelan government somehow worked with Denver-based Dominion voting systems to rig the 2020 election against Trump. America's election officials recently gathered in Washington, D.C. for an event with the Center for Election Innovation and Research. There, I moderated a conversation among 4 elections officials, all Republicans, who are pushing back on false claims of election rigging. Matt Crane, you'll know him as the head of Colorado's County Clerks Association. Trent Triple, the clerk in Ada County, Idaho. Wendy Sartori-Link, supervisor of elections in Palm Beach County, Florida, where President Trump lives. And Seth Bluestein, who oversees elections in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I asked them, why stay in the field of elections while it's under assault?
I think it's a fair question. It's one that a lot of us have probably thought about who went through that experience. And the answer was pretty straightforward. Somebody has to.
Trent, what led you into this low stress, low strain, low pressure environment?
Well, I needed to downgrade my stress levels. For 20 years, I was a fighter pilot in the Air Force, and thought I'd do something a lot more relaxing. And as a fighter pilot, you shoot straight and speak the truth, and I wanted our community to know what was going on and that they could trust elections. So I felt like this was a good space for me.
Yeah, just like I'm sure everybody here, the people in my office could all make more money doing something else. And they stay, or even the same thing they're doing someplace else. And they stay because they believe in what we're doing.
It's an incredibly rewarding career, but for those of us, and I know election officials, you guys know this is truly a passion for us to do. You know, what this work means in the fabric of our country. You know, people have fought and died for this, right?
Wendy, single largest challenge that you face?
I think for us still it is the disinformation and misinformation, and that seeps into so many different things. It's what the voters hear, it's what the poll workers worry about, it's also, you know, it gets into the legislature. So the legislators are just voters and citizens just like us, and they're hearing this misinformation and disinformation and then taking that to the legislature and creating bills and laws that may not make sense or may not be necessary or maybe tackling a problem that doesn't exist or in fact making it worse. And so we then have to deal with that. So I think it's a lot of, again, just the misinformation that you have a handful of people really wanting to spread, and it just sows doubt into so much.
And any one of your residents more than others, or just all, just a bunch of them?
Yeah, just a whole bunch of them. Yeah, I think that there's certainly, I think they have a louder mouthpiece than they might have in other counties, just because of who lives near us.
Sure. Trent, biggest challenge you face in Ada County?
I think it stems a little bit what she just mentioned, legislators that are misguided in their laws. But the most frustrating thing for me is, on the dovetail of that, is that they say there's a problem, they want to fix it by passing these laws, but there's no funding associated with it. So they're always asking us to do more, to be better, to be more secure, more accurate, faster, but they don't provide any funding to do any of that stuff, which I'd be okay with. I'm okay with being faster, more accurate, and all of those things, but I can't do it with no funding. And so that's probably one of our biggest challenges.
How do you make the decision of when and how to engage with not just skeptics, but bad faith critics? Seth?
Yeah, so it depends in part on how large their platform is, right? So if some random account with no followers says something that's totally incorrect, you know, you have to measure whether engaging with that will then elevate it in a way that's unhelpful. But when it's the President of the United States or the owner of Twitter, then it's probably worth responding to.
How do you defend your work without being defensive?
It's a fine line, especially with my background. I want to punch them in the face most of the time. But I engage with all of them on certain terms. I won't get into chat rooms. I won't start putting out defensive press releases. I'll call them personally and say, hey, can we have a conversation? What is it that concerns you? What is it that I have that I can give you that will help you understand what we're doing? It's just a very civil conversation.
As a journalist, I'll often engage with trolls online, and I think it's a great way to get to know these folks before they run for office. Which, every time I say that, people laugh as if it's a joke.
Well, we have them on our ballot right
Say,
now, so it's not a joke.
It's not a joke. No, they absolutely do get elected, and then you have to respond when they come forward as an elected official. Matt, what's your line for what level of oxygen or attention you're willing to give to bad faith criticism?
Every now and again, there is somebody who does get elevated or elevates themselves into the public square. We try to take the higher road and just go to the claim. But every now and again, you have to get your hands dirty and get in the mud a little bit, which we're fine to do sometimes too.
If you'd like to see our full 90-minute conversation on American elections and misinformation, you can find a link on the next page of 9news.com.